Imagine walking into a giant luxury hotel lobby for the first time, but all the lights are off. It's pitch black. Are you gonna sprint forward? No, you'll risk smashing your shins or worse, your face. That's exactly how most people feel when they first hear about offshore asset protection trusts. It feels dark, unknown, scary. And the real question is, can you trust us? Can you trust the foreign banks? Can you trust the trustees in some island that you've never heard of before? So today, I'm going to turn the lights on because the scariest part of asset protection isn't the law, it's trust. When you're protecting millions of dollars in assets, the number one fear people confess to me is not about lawsuits. It's not even about fraudulent transfer rules. The number one fear is, Kevin, how do I know that you won't run off with my money? And listen, I get it. You probably found me online. Maybe you watched a few of my videos. Maybe a friend referred you. But deep down, wiring money to a structure in the Cook Islands or Switzerland feels like stepping into the dark. So let's deal with that fear head on, turn the lights on for you, because once you understand how the system works, you realize it's far more trustworthy and frankly more regulated than keeping your money parked in the United States. And later in this video, I'm going to show you how even the banks themselves prove their safety without you realizing it, so stick around. Now, before we go further, let me share a fact that stops people in their tracks. In the US, people lose money from lawsuits every single workday. Courts freeze bank accounts. Creditors take assets. And that's just Tuesday in America's legal system. But in over 34 years, you know what's never happened? Nobody has ever lost money from a Cook Islands trust that we've set up. Not from a lawsuit, not from trustee misconduct, not once. So ask yourself, what do you really trust more? A 100% chance of the courts draining your accounts here in the US, or a licensed, bonded Cook Islands trustee who's never taken a single client's money in the history of the jurisdiction? And that's the kind of comparison that flips the light switch in that dark hotel lobby. Suddenly, you realize the safest step might not be standing still, it's moving forward. Okay, let's start with me and my team. I'm Kevin, the CEO of the Lawyers Limited Law Firm and Asset Protection Planners. I've been in this field for 34 years, and for nearly 30 of those, I've been setting up Cook Islands trusts, and we've set more of them up than anyone in the world. Now, here's the important part. We are a law firm. Our attorneys worked very hard to get their licenses. If one of us acted dishonestly, guess what happens? The state bar revokes that license. Career over, reputation destroyed. So we've built the largest asset protection firm in the country because integrity isn't optional, it's survival. If we misuse one client's money, our business would vanish overnight. So when clients ask, hey, business guy, how do I know you won't run off with my money? The answer is simple. We legally can't. Our licenses, our reputation, and 34 years of track record prove it. Plus, we aren't the signatory on your bank account. Now, here's the thing that gets even more interesting. People say, okay, business guy, maybe I trust you, but what about the banks, especially some bank in another country? What if they collapse? Well, let me share something that will really blow your mind. As of the latest global rankings of the top 50 safest banks in the world, only one is in the US, and it sits way down at number 44. Switzerland, they have 4 banks in the top 50, all safer than the safest US bank ranking as the second safest bank in the world, the 18th, the 29th, and the 40th safest bank in the world. Luxembourg, another banking jurisdiction we use, one bank rated as the number 20th safest banks in the world. Now think about that. For all the rah-rah USA we hear, when it comes down to bank safety, the US doesn't even crack the top 40. And here's the kicker. I have never once in my entire lifetime heard of anyone losing a deposit in a Swiss bank. Not one. So if your money is wired to Switzerland or Luxembourg through our structure, you're parked in some of the safest institutions on earth. But how do you know those banks are solid? Here's the hidden safeguard that nobody talks about, the correspondent bank secret. Whenever you wire US dollars overseas, that foreign bank must have a US correspondent bank. So what does that mean? A correspondent bank is a US-based bank that agrees to handle the foreign bank's US dollar transactions. But here's the catch. They will only maintain that relationship if the foreign bank is rock solid, solvent, and meets strict liquidity ratios. So every time you send dollars, that transaction has already passed through the filter of a major US bank that has vetted and audited the foreign bank. So think about that. The fact that you can actually wire money in US dollars is an indirect proof that the bank has already been sifted through with a fine-tooth comb. So when a client asks me, can I really trust that bank? I say yes in my experience, because the US banks must trust them first. Okay, now comes the spookiest part for most people, the trustee. So I hear it all the time. Business guy, who are these trustees? Some guy in the Cook Islands I've never met? Why would I trust them with my life savings? Fair question. So let's go ahead and peel this back. A trustee is not a guy. A trustee company in the Cook Islands is both licensed and bonded, and that's the trustee company, usually with several attorneys in charge. Licensed means they've gone through an intensive vetting process in the Cook Islands with a financial supervisory commission. Their books, their ownership, their capital, all inspected. Bonded means they're insured by a global insurance carrier. And if they've ever mishandled client assets, that bond is there to make you whole. Now, here's where my 34 years of experience comes in. I have personally worked with the Cook Islands trustee industry for nearly 3 decades, and I have seen nothing but impeccable integrity. And here's why. The Cook Islands is part of New Zealand, and New Zealand consistently ranks in the top 1 through 4 of the least corrupt, most trusted jurisdictions in the world, according to Transparency International, out of 180 countries. So for over 30 years, New Zealand, Cook Islands is a part of it, has ranked as one of the most trusted jurisdictions. So this isn't some backwater island playing games. This is one of the most trusted legal jurisdictions on earth. But even then, you might wonder, Kevin, what if they decide to betray me at the worst possible moment? That's where the structure itself saves you. Here's where we solve the trust problem. We create a Cook Islands trust here. Inside of it, we form a Cook Islands LLC. You're the manager of that LLC so long as the seas are calm. So during that time, you call the shots. You're in control of the assets. The trustee only has springing powers. When do they step in? Only if a lawsuit strikes, only when your money is threatened, and here's the genius. The trustee is a licensed law firm in the Cook Islands. They're bonded, they're regulated, their entire business model depends on doing their job right. So practically speaking, you're not handing over your money to a stranger in a dark alley. You're hiring one of the most heavily regulated, insured, and integrity-driven entities on earth to step in if you're already sued. And that's the Cook Islands trust industry, one of the most trusted trust jurisdictions on the planet. So that's like hiring a Navy SEAL to guard your house, but only if burglars show up. Until then, you hold the keys. So if this is all true, why do people still fear? Because fear thieves in the dark. It's like that hotel lobby. Until the lights turn on, you imagine monsters everywhere. And the lawsuit industry loves that fear. Plaintiffs' lawyers want you to believe your money isn't safe anywhere. That way, you keep it parked in easy to attack places, US banks, US real estate, US brokerage accounts. But once you shine a light on that structure, the law firm licenses, the correspondent banking safeguards, and the trustee regulations, along with the Swiss or Liechtenstein bank safety, the monsters vanish. Now, one of our clients, we'll call him John, owned multiple businesses and several $1 million in real estate. A competitor sued him for $6 million, claiming unfair practices. Now, when the lawsuit hit, his attorneys assumed that he'd have to settle. But John had already moved assets into a Cook Islands trust with a Cook Islands LLC. We record equity stripping mortgages against the properties. The trustee stepped in. The judge in the U.S. demanded the turnover of the assets, but the trustee outside the U.S. jurisdiction said politely, no, we follow Cook Islands law, and you don't have jurisdiction here. The result, the plaintiff's lawyer walked away. John kept his assets. So that's not magic. It's structuring properly, and only works because the pieces are in place. Trustworthy trustees, safe banks, and the legal firepower of the Cook Islands courts. Okay, why Swiss banks and Cook Islands trustees haven't failed. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom out. In over 34 years that I've been in the industry, I've never heard of a single client losing money from a Cook Islands trustee's wrongdoing. In my lifetime, I have never heard of anyone losing a deposit in a Swiss bank. Now, compare that to the US, where in 2008, multiple banks collapsed and required bailouts, or where judges routinely freeze and seize accounts. The irony? The foreign structures that you're nervous about are actually more stable than the ones you've trusted your whole life. Okay, now let's turn fear into power. What's the scariest part of asset protection? It's not the law. It's not the lawsuits. It's not even the cost. The scariest part is trust. Trusting people, banks, and jurisdictions that you've never met. And once the lights are turned on, you see the path clearly. Our law firm's licenses and track record protect you. U.S. correspondent banks ensure foreign banks are solid. Swiss banks are among the safest in the world. Cook Islands trustees are licensed, bonded, overseen by one of the most transparent jurisdictions on earth. And the structure itself, the trust plus the LLC, keeps you in control until danger arrives. So the truth is, the scariest part is also the most empowering, because once you get past the fear, you realize that you've built a fortress that lawsuits simply can't touch. Now, if you're new here, by the way, make sure to subscribe. Every week I release in-depth videos on protecting your money from lawsuits, divorces, and creditors. And if you're ready to talk about your own situation, visit assetprotectionplanners.com. You get a whole lot of free information there. And that's where my team and I, licensed attorneys with decades of experience, can design a fortress for your wealth.